Atlanta has seen scandals before, but nothing like this. Cameras rolled, voices clashed, and the tension could have burned through steel. Fans are still reeling after reports surfaced that Mona Scott Young, the powerhouse behind Love and Hip Hop, personally walked in on Kirk Frost and Jasmine Washington in a scene no one thought they would ever witness again. This wasn't just a whisper in a club or a grainy paparazzi shot, this was a confrontation so direct, so undeniable, that even longtime cast members were left speechless. And in the center of it all stood Rashida, trembling between fury and heartbreak, her voice rising over the chaos as she demanded justice, not just from Kirk, but from everyone who had turned a blind eye for too long. The moment was pure reality TV gold, but for the Frost family, it was a living nightmare. Imagine the sound of Mona's heels clicking against the studio floor, cameras whipping around to catch her every move, and then the silence before her voice cut through. What's going on here? That's when it happened. The eye contact, the shock, the guilt. Kirk froze, Jasmine's face drained of color, and Rashida's expression hardened into something fans described as the look of a woman betrayed for the last time. The room erupted, emotions ran high, voices overlapped. Friends who had sworn loyalty to Rashida stood up, while others nervously shifted, afraid of the fallout. Social media lit up instantly, tweets poured in, hashtags trended worldwide, and fans declared this the moment that would change everything. Was this the final straw for Rashida and Kirk's fragile marriage? Could Jasmine ever face the Frost family again without being dragged in public? And what role would Mona play now that the scandal unfolded right under her watch? One thing was clear. This was no staged storyline, no producer's trick. It was raw, unfiltered betrayal caught in real time, and the world was not ready for the storm that followed. The studio lights burned hot overhead, casting long shadows across the stage where moments ago laughter and rehearsed lines had filled the air. The crew had been wrapping up what was supposed to be a routine scene, a staged conversation about loyalty and second chances, when Mona Scott's sudden return flipped everything upside down. She wasn't supposed to be there at that exact moment, not according to the call sheet. But that was Mona, always moving, always watching, always ready to protect her empire. What she walked in on, though, left even her shaken. Kirk Frost leaning just a little too close to Jasmine Washington, his hand brushing against hers in a way no married man should dare, and Jasmine not pulling away. For anyone else, it might have looked harmless, but not to Rashida, not to the cast, and certainly not to the millions of fans already conditioned to read between every glance, every whisper, every rumor. The silence that followed Mona's question was deafening. The cameras didn't cut, not for a second. Everyone knew that what was happening in front of them wasn't scripted, wasn't staged, wasn't meant to be exposed in this way. Kirk's eyes darted from Mona to Rashida, his throat tightening as if words had abandoned him. Jasmine tried to compose herself, pulling her hand back and adjusting her hair like it had all been nothing more than a misunderstanding. But Rashida wasn't fooled. Her chest heaved with the weight of betrayal, her voice trembling as she spat out, "After everything, here, now." The crew froze in place, unsure if they should intervene or let the cameras roll on. And Mona, sensing the gravity of the moment, did what only she could. She let the drama breathe, knowing this was bigger than any storyline she had ever crafted. Kirk stumbled forward, his voice low and shaky. "It's not what it looks like," he muttered, the words already sounding like a confession. Jasmine quickly cut in, her tone defensive but weak. "Don't twist it, it wasn't like that." Mona Jusji came in at the wrong time, but Rashida wasn't buying it. Her hands shook as she pointed toward Jasmine, her voice rising. "You always have an excuse, always a reason, but the truth is, you're still chasing what doesn't belong to you." Jasmine's lips tightened into a thin line, her eyes flashing with anger as she shot back. "Don't act like Kirk hasn't been chasing me too. You want to blame me, but he's the one who keeps opening the door." Gasps filled the room. The air felt thick with betrayal, the kind you can't stage, the kind you can't pull back from once spoken out loud. Mona stepped closer, her face sharp with both disappointment and disbelief. "Do you two even understand what you're doing? To this family, to this show, to yourselves?" Her voice cracked like a whip, and Kirk lowered his gaze, unable to meet her eyes. Rashida, tears now brimming, clenched her jaw and whispered more to herself than anyone else. "How many times am I supposed to forgive this man?" But the cameras caught every syllable, every tremor in her voice. Fans watching later would replay that line over and over, debating if this was the end, if Rashida's patience had finally shattered for good. The room began to splinter into factions. Some of the cast pulled close to Rashida, their faces etched with sympathy and anger. Others, still cautious, watched quietly, unwilling to take sides in a storm that could destroy reputations overnight. The crew whispered nervously behind the scenes, some already texting what they had just witnessed, knowing the blogs would pay top dollar for even the faintest details. Kirk, meanwhile, looked cornered, like a man who had run out of excuses and places to hide. He tried to reach for Rashida's hand, but she pulled back sharply, her body recoiling as if his touch burned. "Don't," she snapped, her voice steady now, cold as ice. "Don't touch me like you love me when you keep disrespecting me in front of the whole world." Jasmine's defense grew louder, angrier, as if fighting the walls closing in around her. "You act like I'm the villain, but where's your anger at him? He's been lying to you, Rashida, not me. If he really respected you, he wouldn't be here standing next to me. Don't put all of this on me because you can't face what he's been doing." That was the line that broke something in Rashida. Her tears turned to fire, her heartbreak into rage. "Don't you dare," she shouted, her voice echoing through the set. "Don't you dare stand there and tell me about my marriage. You don't know the nights I've cried, the sacrifices I've made, the years I've given him. And for what? For you to sit here smirking like you've won something. He's my husband, Jasmine, my family, and you're nothing but a mistake he keeps making." The weight of her words settled heavy over everyone in the room. Mona raised a hand to quiet the murmurs, her own eyes narrowing as she assessed both Kirk and Jasmine. "You've put me in an impossible position," she said slowly, her voice full of restrained fury. "I built this show to highlight your lives, your struggles, your triumphs. But this is reckless. This isn't a storyline anymore. This is a scandal that could break everything." Kirk finally lifted his head, his face pale, his lips pressed tight, as he stammered, "I never meant for it to get this far." Rashida spun around to face him, her tears falling freely now. "You never meant for it. You've been meaning for it since the first time you betrayed me. You made your choice. Every time you looked at her, every time you texted her, every time you lied to me, you made your choice." The tension in the room became unbearable. Some of the cast had their phones out, secretly recording pieces of the confrontation. Fans would later see shaky clips posted on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, each angle showing Rashida's pain, Jasmine's defiance, Kirk's guilt, and Mona's fury. The internet exploded in real time. Hashtags like #KirkCaught, #Justice for Rasheeda, and #MonaSnaps trending within minutes. Fans were divided, some blaming Jasmine for intruding on a marriage, others holding Kirk fully accountable, and many praising Rashida for standing her ground at last. The Frost family's drama, already a centerpiece of Atlanta gossip, had now reached a level no one thought possible. This was the kind of moment that didn't just live on TV, it bled into the real world, into households, into heated debates among strangers who felt like they had been part of the betrayal themselves. Kirk tried one last time to salvage what was slipping from his grasp. He stepped forward, his voice trembling but desperate. "Rashida, listen to me. I made a mistake, yes, but I love you. I've always loved you. You're my wife, my partner, my life. Don't let this ruin us." His words hung in the air, fragile and hollow, as Rashida's face hardened further. "You don't get to define what ruins us," she whispered. "You already did." Jasmine scoffed, shaking her head as she muttered, "You can't keep blaming me for what your husband does behind your back." That sparked a wave of outrage from the others in the room. Carly Red, unable to stay quiet any longer, snapped, "Girl, shut up. You've been playing with fire since day one, and now you're acting like you're innocent. You knew what you were doing. You always knew." The confrontation spiraled from there, voices overlapping, accusations flying like daggers in every direction. Mona stepped back, her arms crossed, watching it all unfold with a mix of fury and resignation. She had seen plenty of drama, but never something this raw, this personal, this destructive. The Frost family stood on the edge of collapse, and the whole world was watching, waiting to see if Rashida would finally walk away, if Kirk would finally face consequences, and if Jasmine would finally admit her role in the chaos. And in that moment, as the cameras captured every tear, every scream, every broken piece of trust, one thing was certain: the story was only just beginning. The shouting had barely died down when the weight of what had just happened settled into the air like smoke after a fire. The set was no longer a place of entertainment, it had become a battlefield. Rashida stood near the edge of the stage, her chest still rising and falling, her eyes red from crying, but her posture stiff and unbroken. Kirk lingered a few feet away, his hands clenched, his head hung low as if gravity itself had doubled its pull on him. Jasmine sat back in her chair, crossing her arms defiantly, but the nervous tapping of her foot betrayed her unease. Mona, meanwhile, paced the room with the controlled fury of a general who had just discovered mutiny in her ranks. Every pair of eyes followed her, waiting for her next move, because in that moment, Mona wasn't just a producer, she was judge, jury, and executioner. The crew tried to retreat into the background, their cameras still rolling but their expressions tense. They knew what they had captured wasn't just television gold. It was history, the kind of scandal that would dominate headlines, spark endless debates, and possibly shatter careers. Mona finally stopped pacing and turned on Kirk, her voice sharp as glass. "Do you realize what you've done?" she demanded, her words echoing across the silent stage. "You've humiliated your wife, you've disrespected this platform, and you've dragged us all into a mess we didn't ask for." Kirk opened his mouth to respond, but she cut him off with a raised hand. "No, don't even speak. Every time you open your mouth, it's another lie, another excuse. Another insult to the woman who stood by you when nobody else would." Rashida's lips trembled, her anger mixing with exhaustion. "That's the problem, Mona," she said quietly but firmly. "I stood by him when I should have walked away. I believed in him when I should have believed in myself. And every time I gave him another chance, he made me pay for it." Her words carried a finality that made Kirk visibly flinch. He reached out again, his voice breaking. "Babe, don't say that, please, don't say that. I don't want to lose you." But Rashida recoiled, shaking her head as tears slid down her cheeks. "You already lost me, Kirk. You just didn't notice until now." The cast members, who had been holding back, began chiming in one by one. Carly Red was the loudest, her voice dripping with both anger and satisfaction. "I told y'all, I told everyone Kirk wasn't no good. Rashida, you deserve better. You've always deserved better." Young Jock, standing off to the side with arms crossed, added, "Man, this ain't even about TV no more. This is about respect. And Kirk, you ain't showing none." Even Erica Dixon, who had been quiet most of the time, leaned forward with tears in her own eyes and said softly, "Rashida, you don't have to keep carrying his mistakes. You don't." The walls seemed to close in tighter on Jasmine, who snapped back with venom. "Everybody wanna act like I'm the devil, but y'all know Kirk. He's been playing games with all of you, too. You think he's only lied to Rashida? He's lied to every single one of you at some point. Don't sit there and act like you're so righteous now." Her words struck nerves, some heads turning as if to silently admit there might be truth in her bitterness. But instead of softening the blow, it only deepened the rift. Rashida turned on her sharply, her voice loud and clear. "You will not deflect this onto anyone else. This is about you crossing lines that should have never been crossed. Don't talk to me about Kirk's lies. Talk to me about your choices. You knew he was married. You knew the pain you caused, and you still kept coming back. Don't you dare pretend like you're innocent." The studio doors swung open, and security guards stepped inside, uncertain if they were needed but ready to intervene if the shouting escalated again. Mona waved them off, her glare never leaving Kirk and Jasmine. "No," she said firmly. "Let them stay. Let the world see exactly how messy this is. No one's hiding from the truth tonight." Her words sent chills down the spines of everyone present. This wasn't just damage control anymore. Mona had made her decision. The betrayal would not be swept under the rug, it would be broadcast, raw and unfiltered, for the world to judge. Kirk wiped at his forehead, beads of sweat glistening under the harsh lights. His voice cracked as he tried to explain, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I never wanted," but Rashida cut him off with a sharp laugh that carried no humor. "You never wanted. You never wanted to get caught. That's what you mean. You've been playing me for years, Kirk, smiling in my face while stabbing me in the back. And the worst part, I kept forgiving you. I kept believing the lies because I thought our family meant something to you. But clearly, it never did." Her words sliced through him, leaving him speechless. Jasmine slammed her hand on the table, her voice trembling with frustration. "Stop acting like I forced him. He came to me. He texted me. He wanted me. Don't rewrite the story to make me the only bad guy here." Rashida's eyes darkened, her voice low and steady. "You're both guilty. Him for betraying me, and you for helping him do it. Don't twist it." Mona finally stepped forward, placing herself between them, her voice commanding and absolute. "Enough. This stops here." She scanned the room, her gaze sweeping over the cast, the crew, and the guilty pair at the center of it all. "You two," she said, pointing at Kirk and Jasmine, "have dragged this show into the mud. But you know what? Maybe that's where the truth belongs. Fans are gonna see every second of this. They'll decide for themselves who's guilty, who's broken, and who's worth saving." Gasps rippled across the room. The threat wasn't subtle. Mona had just declared that the entire messy confrontation would make it to air. No edits, No protection. No mercy. Social media was already ablaze. Leaks from insiders were spreading faster than wildfire. Memes flooded timelines, split-screen images of Rashida crying beside Jasmine smirking. Polls popped up everywhere. Whose side are you on? Hashtag Team Rashida or hashtag Team Jasmine. Fans were polarized, but one thing united them. Everyone agreed, this was the most explosive scandal in love and hip-hop history. And as Mona stood tall, the chaos swirling around her, one truth crystallized. This was far from over. The air inside the studio was thick with tension, the kind that clung to every breath and every movement. Rashida stood frozen, her fists clenched so tightly that her nails dug into her palms. Kirk tried to steady himself, his voice trembling with guilt. But nothing he said could quiet the roar of betrayal echoing through her chest. The cast had gathered like witnesses at a trial, each face twisted in shock, pity, or thinly veiled satisfaction. And Mona, still pacing with fire in her eyes, knew she had stumbled into the kind of moment producers pray for and wives pray never happens. Rashida's voice broke through the silence, low and raw. You embarrassed me in front of everybody. You embarrassed our family. And you think saying I'm sorry will fix it? She shook her head slowly, her tears catching the harsh studio lights. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Sorry doesn't erase humiliation. Sorry doesn't stop the world from laughing at me. Her words landed like stones. Kirk opened his mouth, but Mona cut in sharply. Don't, just don't. You've had plenty of time to explain yourself. Right now, the only voice that matters is hers. Jasmine, who had been shifting uncomfortably under the weight of everyone's stares, suddenly found her boldness again. She leaned forward, her chin raised. You keep pointing at me like I'm the problem, Rashida, but you should be pointing at him. He's the one who chased me down. He's the one who lied to you, not me. You think if it wasn't me, it wouldn't have been somebody else. Her tone was sharp, cutting, and it set the room ablaze. Carly Red shot up from her seat, eyes wide. Girl, you got some nerve. You don't walk into a marriage and act like you're not guilty. Don't act like you didn't know what you were doing. Don't sit there like you innocent when you've been smiling in Rashida's face the whole time. The voices began to pile on, one after another. Young Jock shook his head with disgust. Man, this right here is low. I've done my dirt, but even I know some lines you don't cross. Kirk, you crossed M. Jasmine, you let him. And now look where we at. Erica Dixon wiped away a tear of her own, her voice trembling as she said, this ain't just TV no more. This is a woman's life, her marriage, her dignity. And it's unraveling in front of the whole world. The cameras captured every second, the crew careful not to blink, not to miss even the twitch of an eye, or the crack of a voice. Rashida turned to Jasmine with an intensity that made the younger woman falter. Her voice was no longer trembling, it was steady, deadly calm. You don't get to tell me about my marriage. You don't get to tell me what my husband does behind my back. You knew exactly who he was when you walked into his arms, and you didn't care. You thought you could take what's mine, and maybe you did for a while. But let me tell you, something. Kirk is broken. He's been broken. And you can have the pieces if that's what you want, but don't ever think you won. The crowd gasped. Jasmine tried to retort, but her words caught in her throat. She had built her defiance on Kirk's attention, on the secrecy of their connection, but now, under the blinding lights and the crushing weight of Rashida's pain, her confidence faltered. She looked to Kirk, but he couldn't meet her eyes. For the first time, he looked smaller than ever before, a man who had gambled everything and was watching his empire fall apart. His voice cracked as he whispered, I never wanted it to come to this. Rashida snapped back instantly. But it did, because you made it. Mona clapped her hands together, startling everyone. Her voice boomed with finality. Enough. I am not going to let this turn into an endless circle of blame. But you need to understand this moment is out there. The blogs already know. The fans are already talking. There's no turning back. She turned her glare on Kirk and Jasmine. You two wanted to play games behind the scenes. Well, now the whole world is part of the game. And they're not on your side. Kirk rubbed his forehead, the realization hitting him like a brick. Jasmine sank into her chair, her bravado gone, her lips trembling. Rashida, though broken, stood taller, her tears drying into determination. She had been humiliated, yes, but she refused to let it define her. Outside the studio, the scandal had exploded. Hashtags flooded every platform. Hashtag Rasheeda deserves better. Hashtag Kirk exposed. Hashtag justice for Rasheeda. Hashtag Mona caught them. Fans dissected every leaked clip, every shaky angle posted online. Twitter threads broke down the timeline of Kirk's betrayals. Instagram stories replayed Rashida's fiery words. and TikTok edits dramatized Jasmine's smirk against Rashida's tears. The world wasn't just watching, they were participating, throwing fuel onto a fire that already raged out of control. Back inside, the silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Rashida whispered under her breath, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "I should have left you years ago." The words froze Kirk in place. They weren't shouted in anger. They weren't screamed in passion. They were spoken with quiet resignation, and that made them hurt more than any scream could. Mona nodded slowly, her expression unreadable, but her mind already racing. She knew this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of a new storm, one that would stretch far beyond the studio walls. And as the cameras zoomed in on Rashida's tear-stained face, Kirk's broken stance, and Jasmine's uneasy glare, it was clear to everyone watching that the Frost family saga had crossed a line it could never return from. The studio had grown eerily quiet, as though every sound had been swallowed whole. But under that silence, emotions boiled over like lava threatening to erupt at any second. Mona crossed her arms, standing tall in the middle of the chaos like a referee who had lost all patience. Her eyes scanned the room, daring anyone to defy her authority. She wasn't just the producer anymore, she was the witness to a betrayal so raw it could break the very foundation of the show she built. Kirk shifted uneasily, his shoulders hunched, while Rashida's glare could have cut through steel. Jasmine, caught between shame and defiance, tapped her nails against the armrest in a staccato rhythm that betrayed her nerves. Then Mona spoke, her voice sharp enough to slice the silence. "Let me be very clear. This what just happened here changes everything. I don't care what excuses you've got. I don't care who started it. What I care about is the truth. And the truth is, you both got caught. On my set. In front of your wife. In front of cameras. In front of the world." The weight of her words pressed down on Kirk and Jasmine like chains. Kirk opened his mouth. Desperation painted across his face. "Mona, please, don't." But Mona cut him off with a wave of her hand. "Don't beg me. Beg her." She nodded toward Rashida, whose chest still rose and fell with quiet rage. Rashida took a step forward, her heels clicking against the floor. Her voice trembled, but every word dripped with strength. "You think this is just about a show? You think this is about cameras and fans and blogs? No. This is about me, about the years I've given you, about the loyalty I showed you when you didn't deserve it, about the family I protected while you were out there disrespecting it." Her eyes burned into Kirk's, daring him to look away. "And Jasmine, don't you dare sit there acting like you're innocent. You knew? You always knew, and you still came back, over and over, like some shadow I could never shake." Jasmine's eyes flashed, her voice rising, sharp and defensive. "You act like I'm the only one who's guilty. You think Kirk didn't chase me? You think he didn't show up at my door? Didn't send those texts? Don't make me the villain when the man you sleep next to every night is the one who's been lying to you." Gasps rippled through the room. Carly Red jumped up, her finger pointed straight at Jasmine. "Girl, stop it. You've been waiting for this moment, haven't you? Waiting for Rashida to break so you could slide in. But guess what? She's stronger than you'll ever be. Stronger than both of y'all." Young Jock muttered from the corner. "This right here. This is exactly why trust don't exist in this game. Too many secrets. Too many lies." The tension snapped when Rashida suddenly laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that sent chills through the room. "You think you've exposed him to me? You think I don't know who Kirk is? Jasmine, the difference between you and me is that I already know the man I married. I've seen his lies, his mistakes, his betrayals, but you are still holding on to some fantasy that he's gonna leave me for you. Let me save you the trouble. He won't. Because deep down, even he knows you're just a chapter in his book of lies. I'm the whole story." Her words struck Jasmine like a slap, and for the first time, Jasmine's composure cracked. She shifted uncomfortably, her lips parting as though searching for a comeback, but no sound came out. Kirk, looking more broken than ever, took a step toward Rashida, his voice pleading. "Please babe, don't do this here. Don't end us like this in front of everybody." But Rashida didn't flinch. Her tears had dried into fire, her heartbreak into resolve. "You ended us the moment you let her back in. You ended us every time you chose a lie over the truth. Don't beg me for mercy when you never gave me any." The cast erupted in murmurs, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Mona lifted her hand again, demanding silence. "This is what happens when secrets come to light. And let me tell you, the light don't lie. The whole world is watching, and they're not gonna forget this." "Kirk, Jasmine, you think you can walk out of here and spin some story? You can't. The fans already saw it. The clips are already out. There's no escaping it now." As if on cue, one of the crew members' phones buzzed loudly. He glanced at the screen and his eyes widened. "It's trending. he whispered. Already, within minutes, the outside world had erupted. Screenshots of Rashida's tearful face, Kirk's guilty expression, and Jasmine's defiance plastered timelines across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Fans took sides viciously, with hashtags like #justice for Rasheeda, #KirkExposed, and #Mona caught them climbing to the top of trending lists worldwide. TikTok edits paired Rashida's words with dramatic music, while Twitter threads tore Kirk apart with receipts of his past scandals. Jasmine's name trended too, with fans dragging her for daring to face Rashida so boldly. Inside the studio, the atmosphere grew suffocating. Rashida folded her arms, her voice low but steady. I want justice, Kirk. Not just for me, but for every time you thought you could get away with this. I want the world to know what you did, and I want you to finally pay for it. The words hung in the air like a final verdict. Kirk swallowed hard, his eyes glossy, but he had no words left. Jasmine shrank further into her seat, suddenly aware that whatever power she thought she held had slipped through her fingers. Mona, sensing the climax, gave a slow nod. Then justice is exactly what you'll get. And trust me, the world's gonna see it. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every flicker of emotion. Rashida's resolve, Kirk's shame, Jasmine's crumbling facade, Mona's unwavering authority. This wasn't just another fight. This wasn't just drama for ratings. This was the unraveling of a family, the collapse of a marriage, and the rise of a woman demanding the respect she had long been denied. And as the studio doors swung shut, sealing them all inside the storm they had created, one thing became clear. The story wasn't ending tonight. It was only beginning. The atmosphere in the studio shifted into something darker, heavier, like everyone was standing in the middle of a storm, with no shelter in sight. The confrontation had ripped the bandages off wounds that had been festering for years, and now the raw truth was bleeding out for the world to see. Mona stood with her arms folded, her eyes locked on Kirk and Jasmine, her presence both terrifying and magnetic. Every second of silence felt like a punishment, and yet no one dared to speak until she allowed it. Rashida finally broke through the silence with a steady, deliberate voice. You've humiliated me for the last time. I stayed with you through embarrassment after embarrassment, thinking one day you'd change. But you never did, Kirk. You don't even know how to love me without betraying me. Her words didn't just hit Kirk, they pierced the hearts of everyone listening. Erica Dixon wiped her tears again, shaking her head, while Carly muttered under her breath, this man is a lost cause. Young Jock rubbed his chin, visibly torn between disgust and pity. Kirk stepped forward, his voice desperate, almost cracking. Rashida, you don't understand. It was never about her. It was never about Jasmine. But Rashida cut him off with a glare sharp enough to silence him instantly. Don't you dare say it was nothing. Don't you dare try to downplay what you did. I gave you my youth, my loyalty, my soul, and all you gave me back was lies. Every time I think we're building something real, you tear it down with your selfishness. The room vibrated with her fury, her pain no longer hidden but weaponized. Jasmine leaned forward, trying to salvage her pride. So you're just gonna act like you don't know the truth? Like Kirk hasn't been living a double life this whole time? You wanna make me the villain, but at least I'm being honest. He wanted me. He still wants me. And you know it. Gasps filled the air, and the cast shifted uncomfortably. Carly jumped in immediately, her voice sharp. Girl, you sound delusional. Kirk don't want you, he just uses you. There's a difference. And you sitting here bragging about scraps while Rashida got the whole house? Please? Rashida turned her gaze to Jasmine, her tone colder than ice. You think being a backup makes you special. You think being the secret he sneaks around with makes you powerful. No, it makes you pitiful. And the saddest part, you don't even see it. You let him play you, just like he played me. Only difference is, I was his wife. You were just a convenient distraction. Jasmine opened her mouth to fire back, but the sting of Rashida's words left her momentarily speechless. Her eyes darted toward Kirk, searching for reassurance, but he stood frozen, too weighed down by guilt to defend her now. Mona clapped her hands once, loud and commanding. Enough. Y'all are tearing each other apart, and you don't even realize the world outside these walls is watching, waiting, judging. She took a step closer to Rashida, her tone softer but firm. You deserve justice. You deserve answers. But let me tell you, this justice ain't always about revenge. Sometimes it's about truth. And the truth is, this man disrespected you, this woman played her part, and you stood here like a queen demanding respect. That's what the fans are gonna remember. Almost on cue, one of the producers rushed over, whispering frantically into Mona's ear. She raised her brows, then turned back to the group. It's already out there. TMZ picked it up. Blogs running headlines. Mona Scott walks in on Kirk Frost, and Jasmine Washington Rashida demands justice. Gasps erupted, and Carly nearly screamed. Oh, this about to break the internet. Phones buzzed around the room as cast members pulled up their feeds. Sure enough, Rashida's tearful face and Jasmine's smug glare were plastered across every platform. Twitter threads dissected every angle. Instagram captions screamed betrayal. And TikTok edits had already gone viral, pairing dramatic music with shaky leaked clips. Rashida looked around the room, realizing her private heartbreak had now become public property. So that's it? She asked quietly. My pain becomes entertainment again. Mona shook her head. No, your pain becomes power. The way you handle this now will define you. Fans are already rallying behind you. They're calling for you to leave him. They're calling you strong, resilient. They're saying they've never seen you this fierce before. Kirk tried to interject, his voice desperate. Rashida, please, don't let them decide for us. Don't let the world tear us apart. But Rashida snapped her head toward him, her words sharp as a blade. You tore us apart, Kirk. Not them. You handed them the story when you couldn't keep your vows. You handed them the power when you thought your secrets wouldn't come to light. Don't blame the world for your sins. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the raw fire in her eyes. Fans at home would later replay that moment over and over, calling it Rashida's strongest scene ever. Labeling her a queen who finally found her voice after years of silence. Hashtags like #Queen, RASHEEDA, and #RASHEEDA, strong began trending, overshadowing even the scandal itself. Jasmine, cornered in Unraveling, tried one last jab. You can play queen all you want, but deep down, you know he'll never stop coming back to me. The audacity of her words sent the cast into chaos. Carly lunged forward, restrained only by security, while Jock yelled, Girl, you trip it. Even Erica, usually calm, shouted, Shut up already, you sound pathetic. Rashida, however, didn't flinch. She tilted her head, her voice calm but lethal. If he goes back to you, then he's yours. And that's the best punishment I could give you both. The room erupted with oohs and gasps, the perfect punctuation to Rashida's devastating dismissal. Mona raised her hand once more, her voice steady. This story ain't over. Not by a long shot. But tonight, the world saw the truth. And no one in this room will ever be the same again. The cameras cut to black, but the echoes of betrayal and the fire of Rashida's rage lingered in every corner of the studio. Outside, the world was already ablaze, and the Frost family name had never been more fragile. The night stretched long, but no one in that studio felt the time pass. The fallout from Mona's discovery wasn't a moment that could be wrapped up neatly in a single scene. It bled into every corner of the building, into whispered conversations in the hallways, into frantic phone calls outside the dressing rooms. Rashida, still trembling from rage and heartbreak, had been led backstage by Erica and Carly, their arms wrapped around her as though shielding her from any more blows. Kirk followed close behind, begging for just a few minutes to explain himself, but security blocked him, firm and unmoved. Jasmine sat alone on the stage, staring at the floor, her bravado drained. She knew the world was tearing her apart already. She could feel it in the vibration of her phone buzzing endlessly with notifications, her name being dragged across every timeline in real time. Mona stormed into the green room where producers huddled, whispering about ratings and damage control. She slammed the door shut, her voice thunderous. Don't you dare cut this, don't you dare water this down? This is history. The fans wanted real, and now they got it. One of the younger producers stammered, but Mona, the backlash Kirk might quit. Jasmine might sue. She cut him off immediately. Let them, they don't own this story anymore. The second they crossed that line, the story owned them. We're not saving reputations. We're showing reality. Meanwhile, in her dressing room, Rashida sat in front of the mirror, her makeup streaked with tears, her reflection almost unrecognizable. Erica dabbed at her face with tissues while Carly rubbed her shoulders. Baby girl, you handled that like a queen, Carly said softly. Don't let anybody tell you different. Erica nodded in agreement. The whole world's on your side. You think you lost something tonight, but really, you gained your power back. Rashida stared at herself, her voice barely a whisper. Then why does it feel like I lost everything? Her words made both women fall silent, because they knew behind the hashtags, behind the support, there was still a marriage cracking down the middle. Kirk banged on the door from the hallway, his voice hoarse. Rashida, please, just let me talk. Please. Security stepped in again, trying to pull him back, but Rashida stood up and opened the door herself. Her eyes were red, her face set like stone. You want to talk? Talk. But understand, nothing you say is going to erase what happened tonight. Kirk's voice cracked as he stepped closer. I messed up. I know I did. But I love you. I've always loved you. I can't lose you. Rashida's laugh was bitter. You already did. You just didn't notice until now. She slammed the door shut, the sound echoing down the hallway like a gavel, striking judgment. Jasmine eventually slinked out of the studio, paparazzi already waiting outside. Flashbulbs blinded her as reporters shouted, "Did Kirk promise to leave Rashida for you? Did Mona really catch you red-handed?" Jasmine shielded her face, snapping, "No comment." But the photos would tell a different story, her smirk, her defiance, her refusal to look remorseful. Within hours, blogs would run headlines like "Jasmine smiles through scandal, unapologetic mistress" or "Woman wronged." The public divided into camps, but overwhelmingly, the sympathy poured toward Rashida. Back inside, Mona gathered the remaining cast in the lounge. "Listen," she said, her tone icy. "This isn't just gossip. This isn't just ratings. This is the future of this show. The world is watching us right now, and how we move next will determine everything. You all wanted storylines. You wanted moments. Well, this is bigger than all of us." Carly chimed in. "The fans are already calling it the end of Rashida and Kirk. They're saying she deserves her own spin-off. Just her. No him." Mona nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe that's exactly what we give them. Maybe it's time we show what happens when a woman finally says enough." By dawn, the internet had fully exploded. Twitter Spaces hosted live debates dissecting every detail. Instagram memes compared Kirk to every cheating husband in pop culture history. TikTok edits crowned Rashida the Queen of Atlanta, with fans demanding she walk away once and for all. Even celebrities weighed in. Cardi B tweeted, "Rashida, too real for this." Kirk Walden Furf. K. Michelle posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Some men don't deserve the women who ride for them." The scandal had transcended reality TV, it had become cultural conversation. Rashida finally emerged from her dressing room, her head held high despite the storm raging around her. She walked past Kirk without a word, her silence louder than any argument. Fans watching the leaked clips would later say it was her silence that spoke volumes. That her dignity in the face of betrayal made her untouchable. Kirk slumped against the wall, defeated, his empire crumbling, not because Mona caught him, not because Jasmine smirked, but because Rashida had finally stopped defending him. Mona watched her walk out and whispered to herself, "That's the story. Not Kirk's lies, not Jasmine's arrogance, but Rashida's strength." That was what the fans would remember. That was what would keep them watching. And as the sun rose over Atlanta, the Frost family's future had never looked more uncertain, more fragile, or more captivating. The morning after Mona's shocking discovery, Atlanta buzzed like a hive that had been violently shaken. Every radio station, gossip blog, and morning talk show opened with the same story. Kirk Frost caught red-handed with Jasmine Washington. Rashida's fury boiling over, and Mona Scott herself standing as the witness. It wasn't just a love and hip-hop scandal anymore, it was the scandal. The kind that spilled far beyond VH1 screens into living rooms, barbershops, and Twitter threads across the world. Rashida woke up to her phone vibrating non-stop. Hundreds of missed calls, thousands of messages. Her Instagram had exploded overnight, fans flooding her comments with prayers, heart emojis, and demands that she finally leave Kirk. She scrolled in silence, her eyes burning from tears she hadn't even realized she still had left. The hashtags #Team RASHEEDA and #Justice for RASHEEDA were everywhere. One video clip of her saying, "You don't get to define what ruins us. You already did," had gone viral on TikTok, set to a dramatic remix of Beyoncé's Irreplaceable. Millions had watched, millions had shared, and everyone had an opinion. Meanwhile, Kirk sat slumped on the couch in their house, his phone in his hands, the screen filled with hate. Memes clowned him relentlessly. Kirk photoshopped behind bars with captions like "Serving life for crimes against Rashida," or side-by-side comparisons of him and infamous cheaters from history. Every time he refreshed his feed, there was another blow. He muttered under his breath, "They don't know me. They don't know us." But even he knew the excuses rang hollow. Jasmine, on the other hand, leaned into the chaos. She posted a cryptic selfie on Instagram, lips glossed, captioned, "Unbothered. Let them talk. #keep watching." The comments section erupted instantly. Fans dragged her mercilessly, calling her delusional, selfish, and shameless. But a small pocket of defenders chimed in too, insisting she was just telling the truth about Kirk's double life. Her name trended right under Rashida's, and that was enough to keep her satisfied for now. Mona held a private emergency meeting with the network executives. They were nervous about backlash, worried about advertisers pulling out, but Mona had a different vision. She leaned across the polished table, her eyes fierce. This is not a scandal we bury. This is a storyline we own. People don't want polished anymore, they want raw. And what's rawer than the destruction of a marriage in real time? The room went quiet. Finally, one executive asked, "But what if Rashida quits?" Mona smirked. "She won't. Not now. She's the star. The fans won't let her quit, even if she wanted to. This is her moment." Back at the Frost household, the tension was unbearable. Rashida avoided Kirk completely, moving through the house like a ghost. When he finally cornered her in the kitchen, his voice cracked. "Please, talk to me. Don't let social media be the thing that decides us. We can fix this." Rashida turned slowly, her face unreadable. "Fix this? Kirk, you can't fix something that's shattered. You can't glue back trust. You can't erase humiliation." She slammed her coffee mug on the counter. "The world knows now. And the worst part, they're right about you." Kirk's shoulders sagged. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But you gotta believe me when I say I love you." Rashida laughed bitterly, a sound that didn't reach her eyes. "You don't love me, Kirk. You love not being alone. You love the idea of me forgiving you forever. But real love doesn't look like this." She walked out, leaving him alone with his shame. Meanwhile, cameras followed Rashida to Prester Boutique. Fans had already begun lining up outside, holding posters that read "We stand with you" and "Leave him, sis." When she arrived, they erupted into cheers, chanting her name. Tears welled in her eyes as she waved, realizing for the first time that the fans weren't just viewers, they were her army. One woman shouted, "You're stronger than him." Another yelled, "We got your back, Rashida." For the first time in a long while, she felt power coursing through her veins instead of pain. Jasmine tried to film a scene later that week, but every cast member shut her out. Carly refused to sit next to her. Erica refused to speak to her. Jock shook his head and muttered, "You out here looking messy, and it ain't cute." Jasmine tried to defend herself. "Y'all acting like I'm the only one guilty here. Kirk's the married one." But the cast wasn't buying it, and you knew that. Carly snapped, "Don't play victim now." The tension grew so thick that security hovered close, ready for another explosion. Behind the scenes, Mona whispered to producers, "The more they isolate Jasmine, the more the fans will pile on, and the more Rashida shines as the phoenix rising from the ashes. This season isn't about Kirk anymore. It's about her." By the end of the week, Rashida sat down with Mona in a private scene. The cameras zoomed in as Mona asked, "What do you want, Rashida? Do you want to stay? Do you want to walk away? What do you want your fans to know?" Rashida looked straight into the camera, her voice calm, steady, and final. "I want them to know I'm done being the fool. I'm done protecting a man who never protected me. This time, I choose me." That line alone shattered the internet. Fans flooded Twitter with the quote in bold letters. Edits poured in with slow-motion clips of her saying it. Within hours, it wasn't just trending, it was history. Kirk sat at home watching the scene on TV, his eyes red, his hands trembling. He knew then that he hadn't just lost the respect of the world, he had lost Rashida. And for the first time, he realized there might be no way back. The Frost family saga wasn't just a storyline anymore. It was a reckoning, and the whole world was front row to the spectacle. By the time another week passed, Atlanta was on fire with gossip. The Frost family scandal had left no corner untouched. Every diner, every barbershop, every boutique in the city hummed with the same conversation: Rashida finally breaking, Kirk finally cornered, Jasmine finally exposed. The drama wasn't just a headline anymore, it was the city's pulse. And at the center of it all, Mona Scott plotted how to spin the flames into an inferno that would burn through every screen in America. At home, Rashida's silence became Kirk's punishment. He tried everything: flowers delivered in grand bouquets, text messages that filled her phone, long handwritten letters that landed on her nightstand, but none of it mattered. When she did speak, her words cut sharper than any blade. "You don't get to buy my forgiveness this time. You don't get to beg me with the same mouth that lied to me." Kirk's shoulders slumped lower with each rejection. His once confident swagger now reduced to a man stumbling through the ruins of his marriage. Jasmine, meanwhile, found herself drowning in backlash. Her Instagram live sessions filled with angry comments. "Homewrecker, you'll never be Rashida, clout chaser." She tried to clap back, her voice sharp, saying things like, "Y'all mad at me but not at him. Please, go check your own men." But the fans weren't having it. Every word she said was met with ridicule. Every post flooded with clown emoji. Her bravado was cracking under the weight of public hatred. She confided in a friend off camera, tears streaming down her face. They act like I ruined everything. But Kirk promised me. He said he'd leave her. He said I mattered. Her friends shook their head, whispering, "You were never going to win against Rashida. Not in this city. Not with these fans." Mona, sensing opportunity, arranged a sit-down with Rashida and her mother, Miss Shirlene. Cameras rolled as Miss Shirlene clasped her daughter's hands. "Baby, I've been telling you for years, you can't keep letting that man play with your heart. You better stand tall and let the world know you don't need him." Rashida nodded, her tears glistening. "Mama, I'm finally starting to see it. I thought forgiveness made me strong. But maybe walking away is the strongest thing I could ever do." Fans watching the scene later erupted in cheers, praising Miss Shirlene as the voice of reason and Rashida as the queen who had finally found her crown. Kirk tried to film his own confessional, but every sentence sounded like an excuse. "I messed up, yeah, but I'm still human. I still love my wife. I just want my family back." The producers gave him a cold stare. "You can say what you want, Kirk, but the fans don't see love anymore. They see lies." He buried his face in his hands, muttering, "I lost everything." Jasmine's downfall came faster than anyone expected. Brands that once flirted with her influence cut ties. Club bookings dried up. Even her so-called friends distanced themselves, unwilling to stand next to the most hated woman in Atlanta. Desperate, she tried one last stunt, leaking private text messages from Kirk. Screenshots of his "I love you and I'll leave her for you" promises. But instead of earning sympathy, it backfired. Fans accused her of being manipulative, trying to drag Rashida deeper into pain for clout. The internet crowned her Atlanta's villain, a title she couldn't escape. Rashida, on the other hand, only grew stronger. Her boutique sales skyrocketed as fans lined up not just to shop but to see her, to hug her, to tell her, "We're proud of you." On Instagram, she posted a single photo, herself in a sleek black dress, head held high, captioned simply, "Unbreakable." Within hours, the post had millions of likes. Celebrities reposted it with supportive messages. Even Beyoncé's mom, Tina Lawson, left a comment, "Stand tall, queen." The internet exploded again, this time in celebration. Mona brought Rashida in for one more sit-down, this time without Kirk, without Jasmine, just her. "Where do you go from here?" Mona asked softly, the cameras zooming in close. Rashida took a deep breath, her voice firm. "Forward, always forward. I won't be defined by his mistakes anymore. I'm gonna define myself. For me, for my kids, for every woman watching who thinks forgiveness is the only option. It's not. Walking away is an option too, and I'm choosing it." The clip aired weeks later, and the world erupted one final time. Fans filled her comments with crown emojis. Hashtags like #unbreakable Rasheeda and #Queen Energy trended worldwide. Kirk's pleas for reconciliation were drowned out by the roar of a public that had already chosen its hero. Jasmine faded into the shadows, her name becoming synonymous with scandal but never with power. And Mona, she stood back, satisfied, her empire thriving on the chaos she hadn't planned but had mastered. She knew she had just delivered the most explosive season in love and hip-hop history. The Frost family saga didn't end that night, it lived on, echoing through every corner of pop culture. But in the end, it wasn't Kirk's betrayal or Jasmine's arrogance that defined it. It was Rashida's rise, her transformation from betrayed wife to unstoppable queen, demanding justice and claiming her power for the world to see. And the fans, they were left breathless, already hungry for whatever came next. The streets of Atlanta pulsed with rumor. By now, the scandal wasn't just a trending topic, it had become a legend in its own right, etched into the DNA of the city. From beauty salons to radio stations, everyone was telling their version of the story, some saying Kirk had been set up, others swearing Jasmine had always plotted to tear down Rashida's empire, and a few whispering Mona Scott had orchestrated every detail to deliver the biggest ratings in love and hip-hop history. But only those inside the storm knew the truth. For Rashida, the days blurred together in a haze of anger and clarity. She replayed the moment over and over in her mind, Mona's heels striking the floor, Kirk's guilty expression, Jasmine's smug posture, each detail carved deeper into her heart. Yet for every pang of pain came a spark of determination. She refused to let her story end with betrayal. At Prest, her boutique, she carried herself like royalty. Fans lined up outside just to glimpse her strength, handing her flowers, letters, even handmade posters declaring, "Rashida, greater than Kirk." For the first time, she realized the betrayal had given her something she'd never had before, an army of supporters. Flashback. Months before Mona's discovery, Kirk and Jasmine had been slipping into shadows. The cast had noticed subtle things, lingering glances during shoots, unexplained absences, text messages that made Kirk's phone buzz late at night. Carly Red remembered one night at a club when Kirk disappeared for hours. He said he was handling business, she recalled later, but when he came back, his shirt was wrinkled, and he smelled like Jasmine's perfume. I knew then, but Carly had held her tongue, waiting for the right time to drop the bomb. She never expected Mona herself to be the one to catch them. Jasmine had been intoxicated by Kirk's attention. In private, he told her, "You're the only one who gets me. Rashida doesn't understand me anymore." Those words, whispered in hotel rooms and dimly lit lounges, wrapped around her like a spell. She believed him. She believed one day he'd leave Rashida. But the truth was, Kirk never intended to. For him, Jasmine was an escape, a thrill, a dangerous game he thought he could control. He never imagined the game would collapse under the glare of Mona's cameras. After the scandal, Kirk's life spiraled. The endorsements he once bragged about dried up. Club owners stopped inviting him to events, afraid of the backlash. Even his longtime friends began to distance themselves, not wanting to be dragged into the storm. He tried to salvage what was left by posting an Instagram apology video. Sitting in his living room, eyes red, voice shaky, he said, "To my wife, to my family, and to my fans, I messed up. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway. Please, let me make this right." The comments were brutal. "Too late, you're cancelled. Rashida deserves better." The video only deepened the humiliation. Jasmine, too, was drowning. Her attempt to leak Kirk's texts had backfired spectacularly. Fans tore her apart for clout chasing, accusing her of weaponizing her own role in the affair. She tried to host a live Q&A, but every comment screamed the same thing: "You'll never be Rashida." The weight of being Atlanta's most hated woman pressed down on her, and even she began to question whether Kirk was worth the ruin he'd left behind. Meanwhile, Mona moved with precision. She saw the ratings surge. Every leaked clip, every trending hashtag, every emotional moment only fed into the machine she'd built. But for Mona, this wasn't just television, it was power. She set up confidential meetings with VH1 executives, pitching a Rashida-centric spin-off. "This isn't about the Frost marriage anymore," she told them. "It's about Rashida's rebirth. Fans don't want Kirk, they want her. They want to see her rise from the ashes. Give me the green light, and I'll give you a queen." The network hesitated only briefly. The scandal had made Rashida untouchable in the best way. Back in Atlanta, Rashida sat down with her mother again, this time without cameras. Miss Shirlene's voice was calm but firm. "Baby, don't waste your years waiting on a man who ain't never gonna change. God already showed you who he is. Believe him." Rashida nodded, her tears falling quietly. "I just thought after everything, the kids, the years, he'd finally get it." Miss Shirlene took her hands. "Some men don't get it until it's too late. Let him learn. But don't you dare let him drag you down with him." The fans' voices grew louder. Online petitions circulated. "Protect Rashida. Fire Kirk." Blogs speculated about divorce filings. Rumors spread that Rashida had already met with lawyers. Kirk's defenders dwindled until even his closest allies couldn't shield him. Jock tried to console him one night. "Man, you gotta face it. You did this, and ain't no apology big enough to fix it now." Kirk buried his face in his hands, whispering, "I just wanted to feel wanted again." Jock shook his head. "You had that, Kirk. You just couldn't see it." Jasmine's breaking point came during a scheduled filming. Surrounded by cast members who refused to speak to her, she finally snapped. "Y'all acting like I'm the only one out here living messy. At least I'm honest. Half of y'all got skeletons, but you hiding them while judging me." Carly shot back instantly. "Difference is, my skeletons don't come crawling into someone else's marriage." "Sit down, Jasmine." The room erupted, and Jasmine stormed out, slamming the door. Outside, the paparazzi caught her mid-scream, her mascara running, her face twisted in fury. The image went viral, cementing her downfall. Through it all, Rashida stood taller. She filmed scenes at Priest, surrounded by fans chanting her name. She launched a new clothing line called Unbreakable, every piece branded with words like strength, resilience, queen. Within hours of the launch, items sold out online. Interviews poured in. Radio hosts, bloggers, even national outlets wanted her voice. And every time, she repeated the same line, "I choose me this time." Mona sat back in her office, watching clips of Rashida's rise and Kirk's decline. She smiled, knowing she had captured lightning in a bottle. This wasn't just love and hip-hop anymore. It was a cultural moment. A story of betrayal, downfall, and rebirth. A story that would define Atlanta for years to come. By the end of the month, Kirk was alone. Jasmine was disgraced, and Rashida had become a symbol. A queen who had walked through fire and emerged stronger. And the fans, they weren't just watching anymore, they were marching behind her. Louder than ever, demanding justice, demanding respect, demanding the world finally see Rashida for who she truly was. Unstoppable. And Mona, she didn't have to catch them red-handed again. Once was enough, because that one moment had rewritten everything. The courtroom lights were harsher than the studio cameras, and the silence inside was heavier than anything a set could create. For weeks, speculation had run wild. Would Rashida finally take Kirk to court? Would she file for divorce? And when it became official, when the documents hit the clerk's office and leaked online within hours, Atlanta exploded again. Headlines screamed, Rashida Frost files for divorce, Kirk facing legal battle of his life. Fans flooded the courthouse on the day of the first hearing, their chants echoing down the marble halls. Justice for Rashida. Queen energy. Security had to push them back as Rashida entered in a tailored suit, her head high, her mother at her side. She looked untouchable, the very image of dignity. Behind her trailed Kirk, his face pale, his posture slumped, whispers of shame following him like shadows. And in the back, hiding under sunglasses, sat Jasmine Washington, dragged into the mess as a potential witness. The fans hissed when they saw her, their disgust louder than any words. Inside the courtroom, the judge's gavel cracked through the tension. Rashida's lawyers laid out the case. Years of infidelity, public humiliation, financial deception. They presented photos, text messages, even the leaked footage of Mona's shocking discovery. Each piece of evidence stacked higher and higher, like bricks building a wall between husband and wife. Rashida sat still, her face unreadable, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. Kirk's lawyer tried to fight back. My client is remorseful. He wishes to reconcile with his wife and preserve his family. The courtroom erupted in laughter and gasps. Rashida leaned forward, her voice steady but cutting. If he wanted to preserve his family, he wouldn't have destroyed it. Even the judge paused, nodding slightly at her strength. Jasmine was called to the stand, her hands trembling as she swore to tell the truth. The room fell silent. Did Kirk Frost pursue a relationship with you while married to Rashida? The lawyer asked. Jasmine hesitated, glancing at Kirk, who avoided her eyes. Yes, she whispered. Gasps filled the room. Did he promise to leave his wife for you? Tears welled in Jasmine's eyes as she nodded. Yes. The betrayal was now written into official record, undeniable, inescapable. When Rashida took the stand, the world held its breath. She spoke not with anger, but with clarity. I loved him. I gave him everything. And he gave me humiliation. This isn't about money. This isn't about revenge. This is about dignity. My dignity. And the message I send to every woman watching, who thinks staying in pain is strength. It's not. Walking away is. Her words echoed like scripture, and even the stenographer paused, tears in her eyes as she typed. By the end of the hearing, it was clear. The Frost empire was crumbling. Kirk faced losing half of everything he built, not just financially but in reputation. Rashida walked out of the courthouse surrounded by fans chanting her name, cameras flashing like lightning. She didn't need to say anything. The image of her walking tall was louder than any statement. Jasmine slipped out the side entrance, her head bowed, her phone already buzzing with the headlines. Jasmine testifies, confirms affair with Kirk. The backlash online was instant, branding her the final nail in the Frost coffin. And Mona, she watched it all from her office, smiling faintly. The courtroom drama wasn't part of her script, but it was better than anything she could have written. She knew this would define love and hip-hop for years. The betrayal, the courtroom, the rebirth of Rashida, the fall of Kirk, the disgrace of Jasmine. It was reality, raw and unfiltered, and it had become larger than television. The verdict hadn't even come yet, but in the court of public opinion, it was already decided. Rashida had won. The courthouse steps were lined with cameras, microphones, and a sea of fans holding signs that screamed loyalty to Rashida. The noise outside sounded like a protest, and a celebration rolled into one chants of Queen Rashida, thundered through downtown Atlanta as the final day of hearings began. Inside, the air was thick with anticipation. Every seat was filled, reporters scribbled furiously, and even celebrities had slipped in to witness history. Mona Scott sat in the back row, her sharp eyes locked on the front. She wasn't there to interfere, she was there to document the moment that would cement love and hip-hop into pop culture forever. Kirk entered first, flanked by his lawyer, his face hollow. Gone was the businessman with confidence and charm. In his place stood a man aged by shame. He avoided every gaze, staring only at the floor as whispers followed him like shadows. Jasmine slipped in after, wearing oversized sunglasses, her posture tense. She tried to move unnoticed, but the murmurs swelled the moment she walked through. Some fans hissed, others snapped photos. She kept her head down. Then Rashida arrived, and the room shifted. She wore a white suit, sharp as glass, her hair pulled back, her walk deliberate. The crowd rose as though royalty had entered, and for once, Rashida felt it: power, respect, dignity that no betrayal could strip away. The judge banged the gavel, and the trial began. Rashida's lawyer laid out the case with precision. Your Honor, this is not only a matter of infidelity, it is a matter of repeated humiliation, financial misconduct, and public betrayal. My client stood by her husband through scandal after scandal, but the evidence shows his actions were not accidents. They were choices that destroyed the trust in this marriage. Exhibits were displayed, screenshots of Kirk's texts to Jasmine, footage of Mona's infamous discovery, records of secret bank accounts. Each piece of evidence landed like a nail in the coffin of Kirk's defense. Kirk's lawyer countered, "My client is remorseful. He admits his mistakes but argues that the marriage can be preserved. He asks for forgiveness." The judge's eyebrow arched. Forgiveness is not a legal matter. This is— The courtroom chuckled, and Kirk shrank further. Then Jasmine was called to the stand again. She adjusted the microphone nervously, her voice trembling. "Yes, Kirk pursued me while married. Yes, he told me he'd leave Rashida. Yes, I believed him." Gasps filled the room. "Did he ever give you money, gifts, or financial support from marital assets?" The lawyer pressed. Jasmine hesitated, glancing at Kirk, but finally whispered, "Yes." The judge scribbled notes, his frown deepening. It wasn't just betrayal now, it was legal grounds for division. When Rashida took the stand, the room stilled. Her voice was steady, calm, regal. "I loved my husband. I believed in him. But love cannot survive lies. Respect cannot survive humiliation. I am not here for revenge. I am here for dignity, for myself, for my children, for every woman who thinks silence is strength. It's not. Walking away is strength. And today, I walk away." Her words echoed through the chamber like gospel. Even the stenographer paused, blinking back tears. The judge leaned forward. "I've presided over many cases of betrayal, but rarely do I see one with this much public weight. The court rules in favor of Mrs. Frost. Assets shall be divided, custody arrangements outlined, and dissolution granted." The gavel struck. It was official. The Frost marriage was over. The crowd outside erupted when word spread. Fans cheered, cried, and chanted Rashida's name as she stepped onto the courthouse steps. Flashbulbs exploded, and microphones thrust toward her, but she only said one line: "I choose me." That clip went viral instantly, replayed across every platform, etched into pop culture forever. Kirk, exiting quietly from the side, faced boos and insults. "Cheater, clown, pay up, Kirk." He kept his head down, knowing his empire had collapsed. Jasmine slipped into a waiting car, her sunglasses hiding fresh tears. She thought she had won Kirk, but all she had gained was disgrace. The aftermath was a tidal wave. Within days, Rashida's brand soared, pressed headlines around the block. Her clothing line, Unbreakable, sold out within 24 hours. Major talk shows called, begging for interviews. She sat across from anchors on Good Morning America, calmly telling her story. "It wasn't about him," she explained. "It was about me realizing my worth." Millions tuned in. Hashtags like hashtag RASHEEDA strong, hashtag Unbreakable, and hashtag Queen Energy trended worldwide. Celebrities reposted her clips, praising her as an icon of resilience. Kirk tried to rebuild, but every move backfired. His apology tour was mocked. His club appearances were cancelled. Even his music ventures fizzled. Fans simply didn't want him anymore. His name had become synonymous with betrayal, a cautionary tale. He went from mogul to meme, and the weight of it crushed him. Jasmine faced her own collapse. Her social media following plummeted, sponsorships pulled out, and even the small circle of friends she had abandoned her. She attempted a YouTube tell-all, but the dislikes outweighed the likes 10 to 1. The comments section was merciless. "Go away. No one cares. You'll never be Rashida." Her name faded from the headlines, but the stigma remained. And Mona thrived. The scandal became the most watched season in love and hip-hop history. Ratings shattered records, networks scrambled for spin-offs. And Mona smiled from her executive chair. She arranged a Rashida-focused spin-off titled Unbreakable, Life After Frost, documenting her journey of independence, her business empire, and her new chapter. Fans flocked to it, making it a cultural phenomenon. Rashida stood at the center of it all, no longer just the wife of Kirk Frost, but a queen in her own right. She was booked for conferences, women's empowerment summits, magazine covers. She had become a symbol. Her pain had transformed into purpose, her betrayal into fuel, her silence into a roar. And though Kirk occasionally tried to call, occasionally tried to show up at Prest, she never answered. His number was blocked, his presence ignored. The final betrayal had freed her, and she wasn't looking back. In the end, the saga wasn't Kirk's story, nor Jasmine's, it was Rashida's. The cameras had caught betrayal, but what they truly captured was rebirth. A woman humiliated became a woman unbreakable, and the world rose to cheer her name. And somewhere, in a quiet studio, Mona Scott reviewed the footage, smiling. She had always said reality TV showed more than drama, it showed truth. And this truth had shaken the world. Atlanta didn't just move on after the verdict. The city changed. Billboards lit up with Rashida's face, not just as the star of Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta, but as the centerpiece of her own series, Unbreakable. Life After Frost premiered within months, and the numbers were staggering. The first episode pulled in record-breaking ratings. Fans tuned in not for scripted drama, but for the raw image of Rashida walking forward without Kirk, building a new life piece by piece. The opening scene showed her standing in front of Prest, surrounded by fans chanting her name. Her voiceover declared, "This isn't about revenge. This is about rebirth." The internet exploded again. Memes, edits, remixes everywhere you looked. Rashida was the face of resilience. Meanwhile, Kirk sat in the shadows of a small recording studio, staring at equipment he couldn't afford to run. His phone buzzed with missed calls, unpaid bills, old contacts who no longer answered. He scrolled through Instagram, seeing his name mocked daily. Hashtags like #KirkWho and #CheaterEnergy haunted him. Even his children distanced themselves, embarrassed by the spectacle. Kirk drank more, slept less, and muttered to himself, "I just wanted to feel wanted." But no one wanted him anymore, not the fans, not the city, not even Jasmine. Jasmine, too, spiraled. After her courtroom testimony, she became the most despised woman in the franchise's history. Club promoters stopped booking her. Sponsorships dried up. She tried to film an apology video, crying into the camera, "I made mistakes. I fell for lies. I'm sorry to Rashida," to the fans. But the response was brutal. The comments tore her apart. "Too late. You had no shame when you were smiling in her face. We'll never forgive you." Her tears turned to frustration. She deleted the video within hours, but screenshots lived forever. Mona Scott, watching it all unfold, made her next move. She gathered the cast in her office. "This isn't just about love and hip-hop anymore," she said firmly. "It's about evolution. Rashida is our anchor now. She's got the fans. She's got the story. She's got the power. And where there's power, there's conflict. So here's the plan. Unbreakable isn't just a spin-off. It's the future." The cameras followed Rashida into her boutique, her home, her studio. They captured her balancing motherhood, business, and the newfound pressure of being Atlanta's queen. They filmed her tears at night when the weight of the world pressed down. They filmed her laughter with Carly and Erica, who never left her side. They filmed her hesitation when whispers of dating again surfaced. The fans wanted to see her heal, but they also wanted to see her love again. Enter a new figure, Marcus, a successful Atlanta businessman who had admired Rashida from afar for years. The cameras caught their first meeting at a charity event. He offered her a glass of champagne, his voice smooth, his smile genuine. "You deserve happiness, Rashida. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The moment sent fans into a frenzy. Twitter exploded with speculation. Is this Rashida's new man? Instagram accounts dedicated to the ship appeared overnight. Hashtags like #Marcus and RASHEEDA trended. Kirk saw it too, and it broke him. He sat in his empty house, watching the clips, his fists clenched. "She moved on already. Just like that," he muttered. He called her phone, but the number was still blocked. In desperation, he showed up at Prest unannounced. Cameras caught the confrontation. Kirk begged, his voice raw, "Rashida, please, don't do this. Don't replace me." She looked at him calmly, her employees standing protectively behind her. "You replaced yourself, Kirk. I just stopped waiting for you to notice." Fans replayed that scene endlessly, calling it one of the most powerful moments in franchise history. Jasmine tried to claw back relevance. She pitched Mona her own spin-off, Life Beyond the Scandal, but the network rejected it. "The fans don't want to see you," Mona told her coldly. Desperate, Jasmine tried to leak more receipts, but no one cared anymore. The blogs stopped covering her. Paparazzi stopped chasing her. She became a ghost in the very city where she once thought she'd be queen. Meanwhile, Rashida's empire grew. Prest opened new locations in Houston and Miami. Her clothing line Unbreakable partnered with major retailers. She was invited to speak at women's conferences, where audiences cheered her every word. Strength, she told them, isn't staying silent. Strength is knowing when to walk away. Clips of her speeches went viral, turning her into more than a reality star. She became a cultural icon. Mona capitalized further. She orchestrated a reunion special where Rashida faced Kirk and Jasmine one final time. The stage was electric, the audience buzzing. Kirk tried one last apology. I messed up, but I'll always love you. Jasmine tried to defend herself. I was lied to too, but Rashida silenced them both with one line. You don't get to narrate my story anymore. I do. The audience erupted. Fans at home declared it the greatest reunion moment of all time. By the season finale of Unbreakable, Rashida stood on the balcony of her Atlanta home, looking out at the city skyline. Her voiceover said, I thought betrayal broke me, but it built me. I thought heartbreak ended me, but it freed me. I thought losing him was the worst day of my life, but it was the first day of the rest of my life. The screen faded to black, and the words appeared, to be continued. The world was left breathless. Kirk was forgotten. Jasmine faded. Mona triumphed. And Rashida, she had transformed from reality star to legend. Atlanta was still buzzing from the finale of Unbreakable when whispers of a new scandal rippled through the city. Rashida had become the symbol of strength. But strength attracted enemies, and both Kirk and Jasmine weren't ready to let her shine without throwing shadows. The blog started it. Paparazzi photos surfaced of Rashida and Marcus, the Atlanta businessman, leaving a restaurant hand in hand. The images spread like wildfire. Fans flooded Twitter. Yes, she deserves this. And new era, new man. But not everyone celebrated. Kirk, sitting in his darkened house, saw the photos and lost control. He smashed his phone against the wall, shouting, she replacing me with him. The rage in his voice echoed through empty halls. For years, Kirk had controlled the narrative of their marriage. Now, he was reduced to a bitter spectator. Mona, ever the strategist, seized the moment. She called her producers, set up a meeting scene. Rashida and Marcus. I want the fans to see the chemistry. The crew followed them discreetly, capturing stolen laughs and intimate touches. The footage was electric, but Mona knew the fallout would be even bigger. She called Kirk next. If you've got something to say, now's the time. He didn't hesitate. Book me. I'll confront him on camera. The episode aired weeks later, and it was chaos. Kirk stormed into Prest, cameras rolling, his voice loud. So this the dude? This the man you're replacing me with? Marcus stood calmly, his hands in his pockets, but his voice firm. I'm not here to replace anyone. I'm here because she deserves peace, and you couldn't give it. Gasps erupted on set. Rashida didn't flinch. She looked Kirk dead in the eye. You lost your chance years ago. Don't make this about him. It's about you failing me. The confrontation went viral instantly. Clips racked up millions of views. Fans declared Marcus the hero Atlanta didn't know it needed, but Jasmine wasn't about to let Marcus steal her spotlight. Out of nowhere, she dropped a bomb on Instagram, a blurry photo of herself with Marcus from years earlier, captioned, funny how men move. Guess he has a type. #receipts. The internet exploded. Was Marcus really tied to Jasmine? Had Rashida's new man once flirted with her enemy? Blogs went into overdrive. Headlines screamed, Jasmine Washington exposes Marcus. Rashida betrayed again. Rashida saw the post and felt her stomach drop. Mona saw it too and smiled. Perfect, she whispered. Drama layered on drama. The perfect storm. Cameras were rushed to capture Rashida's reaction. She confronted Marcus directly. Tell me the truth. Did you ever deal with her? Marcus sighed heavily. Years ago. Before I even knew you. Yeah, but it was nothing. A few dates? Nothing serious. She's twisting it. Rashida's eyes filled with frustration. I can't go through this again. Not after Kirk. Not with her. The fans were divided. Some believed Marcus, praising his honesty. Others sided with Jasmine, convinced Rashida had walked into another betrayal. Hashtags like #NotAgain, RASHEEDA, and #Team Marcus trended side by side. Jasmine basked in the chaos, posting cryptic tweets like, funny how history repeats itself. Kirk, sensing opportunity, jumped back in. He went live on Instagram, smirking into the camera. Told y'all, ain't no man out there gonna treat her better than me. She'll see soon enough. The comments lit him up with clown emojis, but his words added fuel to the fire. Blogs ran with it. Kirk Frost laughs at Rashida's new drama. Mona pulled Rashida aside. Listen, this isn't the end. It's a twist. You're not broken. You're in control. The fans are watching you, not them. How you handle this will define everything. Rashida took a deep breath. Then I'll show them. I'm not going back. Not to Kirk, not to old pain. Marcus is either real, or he's gone. Period. The next episode captured Rashida sitting down with Jasmine face to face for the first time since court. The tension was unbearable. Jasmine smirked, sipping her drink. So, how's it feel? To think you moved on, just to find out he dipped into my pool first? Rashida's jaw tightened, but she stayed calm. How does it feel to know every man you touch ends up running back to me? Kirk Marcus, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you're always the side story, never the headline. The crowd on set screamed. Jasmine's smirk faltered. Outside the show, Rashida's businesses thrived even more. Her Unbreakable brand launched a new campaign, Side Story versus Main Character. T-shirts, hoodies and mugs sold out overnight. Fans used the slogan as a clapback across social media. Jasmine tried to launch her own line, Receipts Don't Lie, but no one bought. Photos of her unsold merchandise filled blogs with mocking captions. The shelves are as empty as her Marcus, determined to prove his loyalty, surprised Rashida on camera with a gesture that stunned everyone. He brought her to the very courthouse where her marriage had ended and handed her a single white rose. This is where you ended your past, he said softly. But it doesn't have to be where you stop believing in love. Rashida teared up, the audience swooned, and Twitter melted down. Hashtags like hashtag RASHEEDA deserves love and hashtag Marcus for the win dominated trends. Kirk, watching from home, threw a glass at the wall. She ain't replacing me, but the world knew better. He was already replaced by Marcus, by Rashida's own strength, by the fans who had turned their backs on him for good. Mona ended the season of Unbreakable with a teaser that left jaws on the floor. A dramatic voiceover played over clips of Rashida smiling with Marcus, Kirk drinking alone, and Jasmine typing furiously on her phone. The screen faded to black, and the words appeared. Next season, betrayal, revenge, redemption. The saga continues. The fans screamed online. The cycle wasn't over. The Queen's reign had only just begun. And now we arrive at the moment where the cameras fade, but the story still lives on because this is where you step in. You've watched the betrayal. You've seen the heartbreak. You've felt the fire of Rashida standing tall when the world expected her to fall. You've witnessed Kirk's downfall, Jasmine's humiliation, Mona's power moves, and Marcus stepping into the spotlight as the new chapter begins. But the question hanging in the air is this: where do we go from here? And that's not a question for Mona, or for Rashida, or even for the cast. That question is for you, because this story doesn't end when the episode cuts to black. This story keeps breathing through your comments, your likes, your shares, your voice. Every time you speak, the narrative grows. Every time you choose sides, the war gets louder. Every time you replay the clips, you're shaping what happens next. That's why right now, I need you to pause and really think, whose side are you on? Do you believe Rashida has finally broken free for good? Or do you think Kirk will somehow find his way back into her life with one last desperate twist? Do you see Marcus as the knight in shining armor? Or do you believe Jasmine's receipts mean the cycle is destined to repeat? The power is in your hands. If you want Rashida's journey to keep climbing, if you want her voice to stay the loudest, you've got to let the world know. Hit that like button until it glows, because every like sends the message that you're standing with her. Every comment you leave is another brick in the empire she's building. Every share is a spark that spreads the fire to someone new who needs to see this story. Don't underestimate it. This isn't just about views, it's about volume. It's about making sure the Queen's voice is louder than the whispers of betrayal. Ask yourself this: how many times have you seen women silenced, humiliated, told to stay quiet while the world laughs? How many times have you seen someone like Kirk walk away without consequences? Someone like Jasmine twist the story to stay relevant? And how many times have you wished you could shout back? Well, this is your chance. Right here, right now. Your shout comes in the form of a click, a share, a comment, a subscription. That's how you tell the world: we're not letting Rashida stand alone. Let's be real, without you, these stories fade. Without you, these powerful moments disappear into the noise of the internet. But with you, this becomes more than television. It becomes a movement where betrayal isn't the final word, where resilience takes center stage, where a woman's strength outshines the lies meant to break her. If you felt chills when Rashida said, "I choose me," then don't just feel attacked on it. Double tap, comment, share, subscribe, do it now. Because tomorrow the algorithm will bury this under 100 meaningless videos. But if you move now, if you push now, you make sure the world remembers this story. And remember this isn't just about Rashida. This is about every woman watching, every fan who's ever been lied to, every viewer who's ever felt underestimated. When you leave a comment saying Queen Energy, you're not just hyping a reality star, you're stamping a flag in the ground, saying you believe in strength, in dignity, in walking away from what doesn't serve you. That's bigger than TV. That's bigger than drama. That's truth. So here's what I want you to do. Scroll down and flood the comments right now. Tell us, are you hashtag team Rasheeda, hashtag team Marcus, hashtag team unbreakable, or are you holding out for some wild twist, some mono-level plot we haven't even seen yet? Be honest. Be bold. Don't just watch, participate. Then, hit subscribe, because the next chapter is coming whether you're ready or not. The next episode will bring more tears, more betrayal, more laughter, more confrontations you never thought possible. And if you're not subscribed, you'll miss it. You'll be scrolling TikTok while the rest of the world is gasping in real time, and you'll be left behind. Don't let that happen. Click it now. And after you subscribe, hit that bell. Don't just follow the story, be there the second it unfolds. Because think about it. Didn't you wish you were there live when Mona walked in and caught Kirk and Jasmine red-handed? Didn't you wish you were in the comments section the moment Rashida dropped her line? You don't get to narrate my story anymore. Don't miss that again. Turn on notifications and be part of the moment as it happens. Because this isn't just TV anymore, it's history. And history doesn't wait for anyone. One last thing. Share this, not just with your friend who watches love and hip-hop. Share it with the one who swore they'd never care about reality TV. Share it with the one who says, it's all fake. Share it with your group chats, your coworkers, your cousins. Because when they see Rashida stand tall, when they hear her words, when they feel the fire, they'll understand this isn't just drama, it's life. And maybe it'll give them strength too. So here it is. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Not tomorrow, not later. Now, because every click is a clap for Rashida. Every comment is a sword cutting through betrayal. Every subscription is a shield against the lies. And every share is a reminder that justice doesn't just happen in a courtroom, it happens in the court of public opinion. And in that court, your voice is the verdict. So what will it be? Will you let Kirk's excuses fade into silence? Will you let Jasmine's smirk go unchallenged? Or will you raise your voice with Rashida, with the fans, with the movement that refuses to let betrayal win? The choice is yours. And the time is now. Smash that like. Drop your truth in the comments. Subscribe for the next explosion. And remember, this saga may be unfolding on screen, but the story belongs to you.